You're listening to the Abolitionist Roundtable, patriotic Black American conservative all-access radio, with your hosts, Del, Phil, and Janice. They're leading the charge in advancing the conservative revolution. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600.
And we're back. Thank you for joining the Abolitionist Roundtable. We have a popular guest around in this part. He was with us last time. Dr. Cohen was with us, I think, back in May. So again, it's great to have him again with us. Go ahead, Derek, and put Dr. Cohen on. Dr. Cohen, good morning, and thank you for joining us again, joining the Abolitionist Roundtable. Phil is here. Mayor Janice is here. Good morning.
Well, good morning, and I'm delighted to be back.
We know it's early in the morning, but we was talking about how a lion get up early and it can circle the globe before the troop can get up and put his pants on. So we have to get up early so that we can get the truth out. Absolutely.
You're absolutely right. I'm an early riser myself. I'm usually up around 5:15. So this is mid-morning to me.
Really? Oh, well, great. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Cohen. I just want to say that here we celebrate that we've been on radio for 6 years this month, and so this is awesome for us, and we're honored to have you again. Last time we had you on was back in May, but specifically we want to, because we know you're a scientist, and we wanted to get your input about something the president, the globalists are saying about this global warming. Just because it's 75 and sunny, or if it's a storm in Saudi Arabia, if it's a if in some nation because the sea get a little high, they said all this is because, Dr. Cohen, I drove my car to work yesterday. Is that true? Because all this is because of me, because I drove my car?
Yeah, isn't it amazing that they've suddenly discovered something called your carbon footprint? Mm-hmm. And your carbon footprint refers to your personal emissions of greenhouse gases, which they would have us believe are warming the Earth by trapping the heat here on Earth, and thereby contributing to what they used to refer to as global warming, and now refer to as climate change. And it's interesting why they felt it necessary to slap a new label on it.
Okay.
The climate models on which these people rely confidently predicted 10, 15, 20 years ago that temperatures on the Earth would rise as a result of our use of fossil fuels, and meaning oil, natural gas, and coal, and that this was going to be a tremendous problem facing humanity. Well, surprise, surprise. Over the last 18 and a half years, there has been absolutely no rise in global temperature at all.
Wait a minute. Can you pause there? You just said something. Okay, hold on just a minute. Hold that thought. Number 202, Derek. Number 202. I want you to listen to this, and I want to hear your commentary on it, please. 202, Derek.
Research is critical. We need the same level of commitment when it comes to developing clean energy sources. Look, if anybody still wants to dispute the science around climate change, have at it. You will be pretty lonely because you'll be debating our military, most of America's business leaders, the majority of the American people, almost the entire scientific community, and 200 nations around the world who agree it's a problem and intend to solve it. But even if the planet wasn't at stake, even if 2014 wasn't the warmest year on record, until 2015 turned out to be even hotter. Why would we want to pass up the chance for American businesses to produce and sell the energy of the future?
Thank you, Derek. Thank you. Okay, so because I'm curious, you're a scientist, and I'm curious because the president, and I know you're a scientist, and the consensus is that 200 countries, that NASA, the American people. But I'm curious how because you're a scientist, but did you know that in 2014 was the warmest year on record, and 2015 was even warmer? Could you explain that to me, please?
Yeah, very simple. 2014 and 2015 weren't the warmest years on record. But the way they arrived at that conclusion is that they got their political appointees at NASA and NOAA to manipulate the data so that and selectively choose the temperatures that they wanted to use and ignore the temperature readings that they didn't want to use, and bingo, you have the warmest year on record. They have been doing this for a long, long time. In truth, as the satellite data show, no warming whatsoever over the last 18 and a half years. Now, if you accept the theory of man-made global warming, you cannot have, through the burning of fossil fuels, you cannot have an 18-year span with absolutely no warming. There's no explanation for it. And it's interesting that Obama and some of the rest of these people have always talked about the consensus, the scientific consensus.
Yes.
Well, science doesn't run on consensus. It never has, and it never will. It runs on investigation of hypotheses.
Thank you.
You put forward an idea or a theory. In this case, the burning of fossil fuels to provide us with the energy we absolutely need is contributing to a warming of the planet. That's the theory. Okay, let's go out and let's test that theory by the observations. And it turns out that there's absolutely nothing to it. Yes, there was a slight warming that took place from the mid-1970s to the mid-1990s, but that came on the heels of a cooling that took place between 1940 and the mid-1970s, which came on the heels of a warming between 1910 and 1940, which came on the heels of a cooling. You get the pattern. Temperatures go up, they go down. The warmest decade of the 20th century was actually the 1930s. And then Mr. Obama and some of the other people will tell you, well, the sea level has been rising. Well, you know what? He's right. Question, when did the sea level start rising? The answer is about 18,000 years ago.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Which was brought about by the end of the last ice age. And guess what? When an ice age ends, water, these gigantic sheets of ice, that covered all of the most of the northern hemisphere, including Detroit, where you are.
Yes.
All of Detroit was under ice 20,000 years ago. Every square inch of the city. We had a global warming that brought an end to that ice age, for which we can be eternally grateful.
Absolutely.
If you think it's hard to drive to work under normal circumstances, try doing it. Try driving through a glacier. It's really difficult. So, and as a matter of fact, the sea level rise now is slowing down. The further we get in time from the last ice age, the slower the rise of sea levels. And what human beings have done. And it's amazing how these people underestimate the ingenuity of people. Look, we adapt to changing climates because climates always change.
Yes,
the term climate change is redundant. The Earth's 4.5 billion years old. We have had times when the temperatures were much warmer than they are today. We have also had 17 ice ages in the course of the last 2 million years. And we are actually now fortunate enough to be living in an interglacial period, which means that we're between the last ice age and the next one.
Okay. Now, hold that thought there for a minute. Now, Phil has an important question to ask you. Go ahead, Phil.
I just wanted to ask you about your colleague, Dr. Alan Karuba. He says in his blog, there is no global warming if by that one means a sudden dramatic increase in the overall temperature of the Earth. It is not, nor ever was, caused by an increase in carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere. Currently, a minuscule 0.038% climate. Science has demonstrated that CO2 increases show up centuries after a major change in the Earth's temperature, not before. So how is it that that we can have these statistics and scientists like you and Dr. Karuba and they're not in the consensus. I mean, and he can get on the television and tell the people that there is a consensus. And like you said, I mean, that's not what science works on. It works on facts.
That's exactly right. And this word consensus is being used by advocates of global warming as a rhetorical tool to shut off any and all debate about the subject. These people will tell you the science is settled on climate change.
Yes.
The science isn't settled on anything. It's not settled on gravity. It's not settled on the cure of the causes and cures for cancer. Science is never settled.
Well,
Science is a matter of inquiry.
Is it settled what the ultimate outcome if Barack Obama had his way? What is their goal? Their ultimate goal?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a key question.
That is the key question.
Because you have to understand that the climate here is nothing but the pretext. Okay, there is a crisis. We need to deal with the crisis. So what we will do is we will reduce over time the use of fossil fuels and replace fossil fuels with what Obama referred to in his State of the Union address as clean energy.
Yes.
Meaning windmills, solar panels, and whatever else that survives only because it receives subsidies from the government or is mandated by government. In other words, the purpose of the exercise is first and foremost to centralize control over the use of energy in the hands of political elites in Washington, D.C., to drive up the cost of fossil fuels as high as they possibly can so that alternative sources of energy, wind and solar, which otherwise can't compete with them, will be able to compete with them because you artificially drive up the price of one and you artificially drive down the price of the other. The problem, of course, with wind and solar, and there are many problems with them, but every now and then the wind doesn't blow.
That's true.
When the wind doesn't blow, all of those gigantic wind turbines you see sprouting up all over the country produce no energy whatsoever, which means they have to have some sort of a backup system, which is usually a natural gas system.
So it default right back to natural gas.